Hello, you wonderful people, and welcome to another episode of Crime Centric. This being a show where we talk about TV shows that are crime dramas. For today's episode, I'm going to talk about the Season 3 finale of Reacher. Great season finale. A lot of really interesting things went down in this episode, so let's break it down. Obviously, a hell of a finale. Okay, so we're immediately picking up where episode 7 left off, and Reacher figuring out the whole meetup that Beck is at and the ATF is at is a setup, and luckily, Reacher ends up shooting one guy as Quinn's people start rolling up, but it doesn't change the tides completely. Luckily, Duffy, Villanueva, and Beck come out of it fine. All the ATF agents, as well as all of Quinn's people, end up dead. But it's still just kind of that. You kind of feel bad. It's like, Jesus, like you were thinking maybe some of them, those ATF agents, will survive. Nope, everybody got clipped. But I mean, once again, as long as Beck and Duffy and Villanueva came out, you're just kind of like, well, at least they're okay. They got the plot armor to some extent. So Neely's obviously still got eyes on the buyers who show up at Beck's place. Luckily, I guess in a way, it kind of lucked out for them that the people buying weapons are terrible people in regards to just like, well, you're already doing some shady shit. You're going to perform some terrorist acts in another country. So yes, you're shitty anyway. Terrorist acts, regardless if it was like in their own country or this country, whatever, doing any terrorist act, you suck. But either way, the fact is that they are like, oh no, let's party it up, enjoy some pleasure, and then we'll do business. So it benefited them in the long run because it gave them time to roll up because they came in with the shipment of trucks. And obviously Villanueva sucking at driving. I love that. And it's just like kind of had no other choice. And he was like, yes, my uncle drove trucks, but the fact of the matter is, he's like, and I went with him sometimes. Which I'm like, hey, it kind of hits a little close to home because my dad's a truck driver. I sure as shit wouldn't know how to drive an 18-wheeler like that or whatever, even though I've been with him like only once or twice when I was younger. But either way, it's just funny. But I was like, well, there's no way this is going to go smoothly. I thought there would have been an issue if, they were going through, but Paulie just kind of waved them through. So I'm like, okay, it's good on that front. But yeah, I was like, how's this Paulie thing going to play out? Because even Neely's like, what are you going to do about Paulie? Because she's like, you could basically have to throw him out of a building considering how massive. She's like, Reacher, that's a monster. And he's like, don't worry, leave it to me. I'm like, yeah. I was like, Reacher's got to get his get back. He even says like, don't worry, leave Paulie to me. I owe him. And I love that it's like, well, like the others go in, they disperse as they're doing different things. Beck is meant to hide because Quinn's supposed to think you're dead, so you can't show your face. Neely dresses up like a caterer to kind of fit in, keep an eye on Quinn to see when the deal's going down. Villanueva is supposed to go get Richard, and Duffy's supposed to get Teresa. I love the Neely thing when she gets like stopped by one of the caterers and she's like, hey, I'm a private PI. I was hired. Well, that's redundant to say private PI. I'm a PI. Sorry, I'm so stupid. I'm a PI hired to investigate like someone stealing from your company. And we think it is Murray. And she's like, the guy's like, I'm that asshole. And it's like, I'm going to need you to keep an eye on him and report to me after the party. He's like, you got it. And she's like, I knew I could count on you. I love, and that's a nice way to immediately diffuse that situation so he's not all up in your business. But nevertheless, at the same time all the stuff is going down in the house, we have the rematch. Even though it wasn't really a full match before, like Reacher got sunned by Paulie, but now it's like, nah, like choking him out, but it's like, of course it ain't gonna be that easy. I mean, I love the fact is that this fight takes place, even though it's all on the property, it's basically 4 different locations, and the motherfucker's like the damn Terminator and just won't stay dead and just keeps coming back over and over again. I mean, you had the brawl outside, even him being like, oh, we should fight men like men, and Reacher's like, sure, went for the nut, but that still wasn't enough. I was like, Jesus Christ, dude, you took a hard kick to the nuts and you're still like immediately raring and ready to go. It's like this tough SOB. So we have that. Then they tussle into the barn and crashing in each other, like throwing such. It's a brutal drag out fight, and it's like the most drag out fight Reacher's had. Because I mean, that's the thing. Like he usually is pretty oversizes and easily outmatches anyone he's ever gone up against. This is like the Clash of the Titans type of situations. Creature gets knocked out. Ultimately, Paulie like chains him up and then like walks away. It's like, yeah, you want to choke somebody now? Like, why don't you choke, you bastard? Luckily, Reacher broke free of that situation, and even Paulie's like, you son of a bitch. I love they both get exhausted with each other. Just die already. Their tussle leads to them in the water, which I was almost like, oh, very perfect considering like, well, all the bodies that were dumped in there, anything related to, you know, Quinn, but more specifically, I believe it was Annette, right? The ATF agent that was under, well, you know, that was her name. She's the one that like, yes, Harley disposed of the, no, because Harley and Reacher had to dispose of her body, but it was like, Paulie. He didn't mean to, but he was gleeful about, you know, killing her, even though he didn't mean to, but still, it's just like, if I was like, oh, it's poetic if he ends up dying in the same water, but then like the moment Reacher hit him and he's falling and sinking, I'm like, no, make sure he's dead, Reacher, but it's like, well, he's gone, gets out on the road, here's some twigs breaking, and here's that motherfucker just running after you in the background. I'm like, this bitch won't die, dude. And then it leads to the tussle with the gun and everything. I was like, what? I mean, I know you're trying to not to make any noise, but luckily it's a little further from the house and only a few shots pop off. There's loud music, so no one's potentially going to hear it. Well, obviously didn't hear it, but yeah, I wasn't sure how, like, my entire time I'm like, how's this fight going to end? How's this going to play out? But I love him being like, got the gun on Reacher. It's like, ha, I'm bigger, I'm stronger. And Reacher's like, yeah, but I'm smarter than you. And it's like, basically, I jammed the gun so it backfired and exploded in its throat. I'm like, yeah. It's just stuff like that where you're like, I mean, you always knew Paulie was going to get his. You just didn't know in what shape or form he was going to die. Pretty brutal way to die. And you're also like, but yeah, you suck, Paulie. You're a piece of shit, you know? Yeah, it's just a matter of seeing when he'd get his comeuppance. And I said from the beginning, the moment you got introduced to Paulie, you're just like, well, Reacher's going to deal with him later. Like, that's not going to, well, it might even been after he got sunned by Paulie and Paulie just knocked him down after a hit. I mean, you know, but obviously Reacher had more motivation of like, nah, I got to see this through. There's too much on the line right now, so I can't just like take the hit from Paulie and just have to take it. It's like, nah, I'm going to tank it and I'm going to keep going. I'm going to try and beat this bastard. So we have that, and then Reacher's just kind of walking away from it, all sore and beat up. Villanueva has his own little fight with the guy in the bathroom. I love that situation. I also didn't know how that fight was going to go out. I'm like, all right, I see that the Clippers have been turned on. I'm like, what role are they going to play in the fight? Wasn't expecting like, okay, the guy's reaching in the toilet because Villanueva made him drop his gun, and Philly knocks the Clippers into it and electrocutes them. I was like, that's pretty impressive. And then smashing the back of the toilet lid on top of his head. I was like, that's pretty impressive. And Richard, hearing all this, comes in like, what are you doing here? He's like, I came here to rescue you, even though he's sitting on the floor, bloody mess himself. I was like, good on you, Villanueva, because I was scared. I was like, it's the season finale. They could go buck wild and end up killing him. I hope not. But, you know, once again, plot armor got you this far, but even then there was no guarantee. I mean, hell, Elliot sure as shit didn't have any plot armor when he got stomped out. You know, it's like, that was brutal as hell. But yeah, Duffy finds Teresa, but the guy who Teresa was sold to shows up because he wants to sample the merchandise. And I love Duffy just being like, I will shoot you in the balls. And she was like, I will shoot your dick off for what you were going to do. He's like, no, you could, but my guy could come in here. It could turn her into a whole shootout. She could get caught in a crossfire. And if it isn't my people, it'll be Quinn's. But luckily, shit started popping off because Reacher got a gun, killed some people with just locked and loaded shotgun. Pow, pow, pow. And I loved Duffy shooting home dude in the dick, rolling, shooting the guy that came in, and then double tapped. Oh, got that second shot off on that guy. I was like, yeah, might as well. You know, also it felt good because you also let him suffer a little bit too. So it's like, yeah. So I mean, you're stopping a lot of bad people at once. So it's like, why hold off? And it's just like taking people down one by one. I thought it was poetic. Like, those guys are like, hey, where's home Nasir? Like, we're making this deal. And then Quinn was just like, fuck it. Pop, pop, pop. Killed the guys, took the bags. There was some of those guys coming after him, but they were shot and killed in the process, especially because of Neely and Reacher. Quinn gets away, and he ends up finding Richard, and Richard gets taken hostage. But then luckily, Beck came and saved the day. But I was scared the moment Beck. I was like, oh god, it's like the moment you see the gun, you didn't even need to see the side of it. You knew exactly what gun it was. You're like, it's the toy, it's the model gun. I was hoping like Richard would like try and do something to Quinn, because sadly Richard doesn't get to utilize what Reacher taught him. Because I was like, okay, Richard's got to definitely use that, right? He never did. I mean, he gets shots off on like the Uzi. He gets to like blast at Quinn. Obviously doesn't hit him, but that sucks, dude. I was like, oh god, oh god, oh god. But it's like, yo, like Beck stood up to Quinn. It's like, you like hurt my son, like you dare like ever touch my son. I should kill you for that. But then like Quinn popped off on him, just like complete psycho, unloaded the entire gun. He's like, oh, you're gonna threaten me? You're gonna threaten me? And it just sucks. It's like so close to the field goal just to meet his end this way. But at the same time, it's like he did what he did to protect his son, because he failed to protect him before. And his final words to Richard is, I promised you they would never hurt you again. Quinn's running, gets away, but luckily the Russians show up and they're like, yo, where's our money? So they're going to take him. But Reacher's like, no, he's mine. But then, like, luckily, Billy's there, then Duffy's there, and as well as Neely with a grenade. I was like, wow, you were pulling a Reacher right here, kind of going a little psychopathic, but, turns out it wasn't an armed grenade. It was like the explosive had been removed. Apparently, I guess it's a lucky thing that Beck was like the weapons enthusiast that he was, because he had that as a paperweight. So, but it allowed them to negotiate. Hey, you take this money that you were owed already, and we'll take Quinn off. But it's like, the guy's like, hey, to be fair, like, I got people to answer to, but as long as we get the money, that's what we were here for in the first place. Quinn, it's like you were just, grandstanding, because it's just a principle of them demanding him. And it's like, wait, you want Quinn? Who's to say we don't just take him too and take the money? But it's like, all right, I don't want the smoke. I'll take the money and bounce. And then like Duffy, Billy, and Neely leave Reacher alone. And I love that moment where it's just like, he's like, come on, we can make a deal. He's like, you really don't remember me, do you? And he's just like, no. So it seems like that's the only blank spot because of the trauma of it wiped. Like he probably remembered. It seemed like he didn't remember Dominique until he was like, it doesn't matter who I am. Her name was Dominique. And in that moment, Reacher was waiting for it. It's like, oh, so you do remember now. Good. Now you remember. And then blew his head off with a shot. I'm like, fuck yeah. But it's that thing where like, I'm such a sadistic person when it comes to vengeance. Obviously, I'm talking about television. I'm not saying this is applicable to real life. We're talking fiction here. I'm always the person like, man, I want you to suffer. I hate when people are able to just get off easy, where it's just like, you got off easy. But there's like some psychological thing of him remembering at the last second of, oh, remember me? Now you do. Pop. And I love that it was like not hearing my name, because he didn't know Reacher's name at all. The only name he knew was Dominique's, and that's what triggered that memory. And he remembers, oh, you shot me and I fell in the water. It's like, oh, good. No second guessing it now. Your body's laying here. I love the body just falling back. You just see the blood splatter. It's like, yeah, you're definitely dead, taking a shotgun blast. It's like, yeah, made sure to see. I don't know if Reacher had that in mind when he could have grabbed any weapons out of that, but he made sure to grab shotguns, because I don't know if he was like, oh, when I shoot Quinn, I want to make sure it sticks this time. So once again, everything ends up being resolved. It's just sad that like Beck had to die, like I said, so close to the end, but the whole situation is resolved. Richard isn't really sure what to do now, but Reacher's like, no, you said you want to take one of these cards and go, like, take this chance. ATF and everything is going to freeze your father's assets, so take whatever money you can scrounge up and just go, And it's like, it's not the easiest thing, when you have the pain in the past, because he's like, if you keep like staying there, that pain is just you're gonna drown in it forever, and he knows, because he still carries a lot of regrets and pains of the past that, and it's like, well, how do you deal with it? Reacher's like, whatever the thing is that caused me that pain, I find it and I kill it. But that doesn't fully fix everything, and doesn't really do much in Richard's case, considering, well, the man who murdered your father is already dead. He got his, so. But then we have, Billy and him saying their goodbyes. He's like, you know what, dude? It's like, I got decades with my SO, and he's like, nah, considering everything with your health, you definitely don't have decades. He's like, you know what? I could kick your ass. It's like, no, you can't. If I was younger, I could kick your ass. No, you couldn't. He's like, no, you're right, I couldn't. So they say their farewells. him and Duffy say their farewells. The DEA situation ain't working out anymore because it's like, well, she probably got raked over the coals because of everything she did. But it's also like, yeah, but this is settled. I saved Teresa. That's all that matters. Like, that's the last thing I had. So even if this kind of flushes down the toilet, it's fine. I did like that Reacher's like, well, I do know a PI you could, hook up. And it was like, oh, it'd be kind of interesting if Duffy and Neely did kind of work together. But for her, it's like, now I'm going to take a pause, figure some stuff out. But I love her being like, yeah, you're great and all, Reacher, but I'm kind of like I do my own thing type of person. But she's like, honestly, if anyone I've ever been with, you are my favorite. He's like, okay. And she's like, that's all you have to say? He's like, you literally stole my lines. And it's like, it's about time someone made Reacher experience what he kind of does, on the flip side, whether it's a Roscoe or a Dixon. And now it's like, no, Duffy turned it on him like that. So, and even the conversation he had with Neely, I thought was nice, where it's just kind of like, she's like, I finally understand what you do. It isn't just about protecting. You're not just doing it for the little guy or just doing it fully just because it's right. You're doing it because you don't like the big guys who it's because you want to take down the big guys, those who act like they're so rich and powerful that no one can stop them. And he's like, really? You're only now figuring it out? I thought you knew me so well, Neely. And it's just like, I love that because it's like, obviously that being a bit of the relationship where it's just like, oh, you know me so well. And it's like, oh, you're just figuring it out. It's like, all right, asshole. But I love that Reacher, this is the one season where Reacher's kind of leaving with something, because he leaves on the bike and I was like, he's definitely not going to keep that by next season. He's going to like leave it behind. He's like, hey, after it runs out of gas, I'm not going to maintain it. I'm going to keep it going on foot, bus ride, whatever. Because season 1 ended on foot. Season 2 ended with him taking a bus ride out of town, out of the city. So I'm curious, will he have that bike the next time we see him or no? Or did he leave it behind like some trips ago? Like, is he just going to wait for it to run out of gas or till it breaks down or what? And obviously Richard taking Reacher's advice, and they both kind of leave roughly around the same time. I'm surprised. I guess it's like, well, they're not going to take too much notice of like him leaving with the bike, because I mean, it's not like he cranked it up in the barn or whatever. But I'm still would have thought like, they're not going to like halt you from doing it. It was like, whatever. He kind of got clearance to be there. He's fine. We're not going to cause much issues. So Billy and Duffy both drop off like his Elliot's badge, and I guess they're going to tell his father the truth. Like, it's like, well, what we said before was kind of a cover-up, but we have to tell you the truth of how your son died. And, well, not how he died, but, like, it was in service. He was, helping out, which, she didn't lie before, but she was, she couldn't tell his father a lot. But then Duffy goes back home, welcomed by his SO. Duffy drops off Teresa, and it's just kind of like, right, she was able to kind of give them their happily ever after, her and her grandmother reunited. So, once again, everything ends... there, like I said, there's a sadness to it, but there's still like a beautiful overarching ending. And like, there's kind of like, there's always this like very cathartic ending to each season of Reacher. So some bumps along the way, some sad elements to it along the way, but overall it's just kind of like, everything comes out victorious. I'm wondering, when it comes to the books, have there ever been any like uber depressing endings? Like, does Reacher not always, the Jack Reacher books, maybe they don't always end on like the like, yay, like everything's kind of good thing. I don't know if that's just a show, because I don't know how these shows compare to the books, like whether it's like a pretty faithful adaptation, how much they end up changing, because once again, I've never read any of the books that these are based on. So, but either way, in totality, it was a nice wrap up, and just excited, to have another chapter of the Reacher done. But obviously, season 4, the show was renewed. Apparently, looking into it, show was renewed like 3 months before this season even started airing. So, I mean, this show is extremely popular for Prime Video. So I'm excited to see what happens next season. Obviously, I have no idea what to expect. I don't even know if they're adapting these books in order. I don't know if I've actually even looked at that before. So I did some quick Googling. They're bouncing around. So the first season is based off of the first book, even though there are prequel books that came out later on as the series progressed. But yes, The Killing Floor is the first book. The second season is based off a book that takes place after this book. So this book came out like 2003. It's like The Persuader, but like the book that season 2 was based off of came out in 2007. So they're bouncing around about. So it's not like a clear line of, oh, we're adapting them chronologically. It's like whatever story they feel like adapting is what. So there's no clear answer of like, oh, so there's. I don't know if there's a thing of like, oh, the books in between the Killing Floor and Persuader, how much of those they might circle back to adapt those, or somewhere in between the book that this season and season 2 were based on. And once again, there's a long list of books. Like I said, there's even prequel books, but I don't know if they'll tackle those. I mean, who knows? Like some of the older books some other books could be, some elements to them could be adapted already into some of these seasons, and we probably already got some of the prequel elements because of like some of the flashback stuff in season 1, especially season 2 with the whole like 110 and all that. But that might have already been part of that book that it was based on. Once again, I don't know, but there's no like clear like, oh, this is definitely going to be the next book they end up adapting. I even Googled it just to see, but it hasn't been confirmed what book season 4 is based on. Once again, I haven't read any of the books, so it's not like any of that would matter, but still, But also, there is the whole Neely spinoff that I talked about that a couple episodes back, that is something in the works. I don't know where that is time frame wise. I don't know like if they're like still in pre-production for that, figuring out like they greenlit it, but they're still figuring it out, or whether they're already in production of it. My point is, I don't know if that's something we can expect in between season 3 and 4 of Reacher, or maybe they'll end up coming out after Reacher. Maybe season 4 might kind of lay that up a little bit, kind of backdoor pilot the Neely spinoff a little bit, So either way, I'm excited for more Reacher, excited to see what stories happen, Obviously, Reacher's kind of got this formula to it, but obviously they end up tweaking it and turning it upside its head a little bit. So I'm excited to see what season 4 is going to have in store for us. But really, that's all I wanted to talk about. Till the next time we meet, be happy, be safe, live life to the fullest, and enjoy it. Good day and goodbye.